10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, how's everyone doing today? It's been an exciting week, hasn't it? I tell you, we have the aftermath of the wildfires in Australia, and that information has been brought to you by the Concerned Forum, and I am your host, Bob Gums. I have my very interesting guest, a good friend of mine. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lou Grouper with New York Labor for Bernie, among other things.
And what we're going to do, we're going to kind of call this a casual day. And we're just going to knock around some ideas about this upcoming election. Also talking about the impeachment, which starts next Tuesday. Now, these folks were already sworn in. What's today, Friday? They were already sworn in Wednesday and Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. The senators, 99 of them. One is missing. I think he's going to be done Tuesday. He had family, illness in the family or something of that nature. But 99 of those guys and gals raising their little hand, swearing that they are going to be open-minded, disinterested, honest participants in this procedure. Now remember, this is historical because this is only in the third time in the history of our republic that we are basically putting our chief executive, our president, on the hot plate. And see, I understand what Nancy Pelosi is talking about when she says, you know, feeling the solemnity, okay, the awesomeness of the occasion. I had the honor and the privilege of being stationed in D.C. For a little over 5 years when I was in the Navy. And I was stationed in the White House and in the Pentagon. And I had a part-time, off-duty job on Capitol Hill. And sometimes, especially at times like these, when you walk through those buildings, you can feel the weight of history upon your shoulders. And that's when you get the feeling of what it really means to be an American. Now, this is kind of funny for Donald Trump. And I don't mean funny, ha ha. I mean funny in the sense of irony. Remember, Trump is a guy, and you could say this goes for his whole family. Trump is the dude that, for his whole life, he's been able to basically dodge raindrops. But see, when you become a millionaire at the age of about, 7 or 8, he was already a millionaire, thanks to his daddy's leisure domain with filing bullshit taxes, okay? So he never had to be accountable for anything. And, people say, oh, well, rich guy so-and-so, he's in court. Naturally, he got away with the crime. Well, it may sound, corny or stereotypical, but generally speaking, unfortunately, in American society, that's true. Very seldom are rich people called to account for the things that they do, okay, for the negative things that they do. Sometimes it happens, like that lady who's always talking about cooking and, design of the kitchen and the living room. What's her name?
Stewart.
Yeah, Martha Stewart. And they got her on BS. Okay, that was some kind of tax thing. No, I'm sorry. That was some kind of Wall Street thing, right? Probably 15, 20 years before that, it wouldn't even have been a crime. But most of the time, the rich guy or the rich gal gets away with it. Trump, I mean, he's walking proof, walking history of the truth of that statement. I mean, this guy has been involved with the mob, cocaine bust. It's all there, in the state court records. So you don't have to take my word for it. But I'm going to tell you something. What in the hell? Because I have a certain amount of respect for the so-called mob or mafia or whatever. And I tell you, they must have been doing somebody a favor or something, because anybody, the mafia, the Republican Party, anyone that has to deal with Donald Trump, I'm quite sure these guys will tell you on the sly, on the QT, he was probably the biggest pain in the ass that they've ever had to deal with, and quite frankly. Donald tries to play like he's a mafia boss, like he's something out of a movie. Anybody who grew up, especially grew up in inner city New York, knows there's no way in hell that Donald Trump could be any kind of a gang leader, mob leader, whatever you want to call it. Okay? Number one, he is just so he is just so damn self-absorbed. So this whole thing, this whole impeachment thing, he is being called to account to the biggest court in the United States. You got the chief of the Supreme Court. He serves as the justice, okay, for this whole operation. And I honestly believe this is the first time this week, that it finally dawned on him, hey, this shit is serious, okay? That's exactly what's going through his mind. And I know that he is scared as hell. But you know what? I'm scared too. I'm scared that those Republican senators will not do their duty. And that's what worries me. Because if you cannot depend on the United States senators to stand up and protect their own institutions, I'm not talking about this Republican, Democrat, independent nonsense. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being an American who also is an elected office holder. I mean, yeah, we know the give and take of politics, a little bit there, a little bit there. We're hip to that. But we also know that there are certain times when you have to stand up, where you have to be real, where you have to go according to what the book says. And our book is the Constitution. That's our Bible. We are not a theocracy. Everybody has their own religions or no religion at all. But Jefferson said that doesn't mean anything, because we are a government of law, not of men. So for this president to be forced to account for his actions, this is extremely significant. I've been places in the world where that doesn't happen, where you cannot tell the head guy in charge, hey, listen, buddy, I don't like the way you've been acting. Don't seem right. Don't seem legal. We need to talk about this. You need to be held accountable. There are a lot of countries where you can't do that, where the people don't have the freedom to protect themselves from a tyrannical government. We have that in America. That's why this country was founded. And I know about all the problems, land usurpation from the Native Americans, the slavery, the Jim Crow, the hatred towards ethnics, the attacking of immigrants from all over the world. We've had some pretty bad strikes. We've done some pretty bad things in this country. But we've done some very good things as well. And I say, in balance, we still have the best game in town. We still have a certain respect for the rights of the people. And that's why it's so important that this impeachment be taken seriously and that it be done correctly with an eye towards honesty and the rule of law. Now, how does that fit in? Because we also have an election this year. Now, you tell me, Louis, what do you think about this upcoming election?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Bob, for inviting me on your show. As always, it's always a pleasure. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's shaping up to be very interesting. This time around, my guy Bernie is doing very, very well.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. In fact, there was just a national poll that just came out 3 days after the the debate they just had. That showed the Reuters poll, which shows Bernie is ahead, and there's a couple other backs up a couple other recent polls which showed the same thing. There was a CBS one, and before that there was a PBS Marist poll. All of them showing Bernie in the lead. So he's rising up. He's getting some real support. And if you get down to the early states here, the early states are amazing. I mean, I don't know how Biden can be considered the front runner when he isn't really winning any of the early states. I mean, he's the one shot that now he's got a good shot is in Iowa, but that's a 3-4-way tie basically. And actually, Bernie there was a poll recently, a few days ago. Bernie shot up there as well. He's now the leader in Iowa with 20%. I mean, within the margin of error, all four of them. But Bernie 20%, Warren 17%, Buttigieg 16%, and Biden 15%. So it's within the margin of error. But still, it's going to be a close race. But right now, Bernie has some momentum. He's shot up there. I can say the same thing with a whole number of other states. New Hampshire, Bernie's really doing well in.
Okay.
Nevada, he's got a lot of strong Latino and
strong labor support
as well there. And California, he's just surged out of the ballpark. I was out there a couple of months ago, and everybody's seeing my Bernie buttons and coming up and saying, "Yeah, I voted for him, I'm voting for him." So there's a lot of momentum that he's sampling. I'll tell you, the one state that I thought Biden had locked up, I thought that was South Carolina, because the history there with Clinton, capturing the black vote, and all of that. But a few months ago, whatever, Biden was up there in the 30% bracket. And Bernie was down in second place in the low 12% or something like that.
Okay.
Well, the last poll that I saw, Biden's in the low 20s and Bernie's in the high teens. So there's a lot of movement going on there as well. In fact, 7 black state legislators in South Carolina just endorsed Bernie.
Yeah, recently. I heard about that. That is very interesting.
Very significant. Yeah.
Now let me.
This is a big change from 2016.
Now let me put this to you. What I have done, and I've never done this before, for a presidential. Let me roll my sleeves up here. And like I say, this is just a hangout day. We're just kicking it. Everybody knows I got a shirt and tie, so I can afford to look casual every so often.
We can have a relaxed Friday. Hey.
There you go. Now, I've never done this for a presidential election, but technically speaking, I have no dog in the primary fight. All I'm doing is whoever can get Trump out of there. That's all I care about.
We're agreed on that.
Now, after the primary, when we have chosen our champion, our nominee, that person or that lady will have my full support, irregardless.
Whoever it is.
Okay, whoever it is. Also,
Same here.
watch out. I want to see if something happens. Now, our friend Mayor Bloomberg says that he is giving up about 500 staffers and a pile of money to whoever the Democratic nominee is. Somewhere after the convention, I predict there's going to be a meeting between Bloomberg and Bernie Sanders. If Bernie Sanders wins the primary, they're going to have to chat. B, if Bernie loses the primary, they're still going to chat. Even if it happens behind the scenes, behind closed doors. Okay? Because, and see, this is one thing that the rest of us, we look at you guys, and we are afraid of you. You scare us, Lewis.
I know.
Because we don't want to repeat.
And we're going to keep scaring you up until when Bernie wins the primary.
Well, we're scared if
April
Bernie
28th
doesn't
in New
win
York, by
the
the way.
primary.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to cut our throats and stay home,
me,
or
not
go
me.
for
Not me. I'm gonna
Trump or what?
No, I'm gonna go for the Democrat whoever wins, and I'm gonna urge all my friends to do likewise. But and I'm
Okay.
gonna get out and campaign for. Hey, we got to beat Trump. Trump is a real dangerous man. He's a racist, neo-fascist tendencies there, and with all his buddies in the Ku Klux Klan and the Nazis.
Yeah.
We definitely need to rid ourselves of that.
Well, he's
So,
brought a lot of that.
right. Right.
People say that this stuff is not created by Trump. And see, here goes the thing. That may be true. Okay? Well, of course it's true, because the Ku Klux Klan started in 1865. However, Trump is the first president since Woodrow Wilson where these type of people, and that was 1912 to 1920, Woodrow Wilson's time.
Yep.
But this is the first time since then that the Klan and people of that ilk feel that they have a sympathetic ear in the White House. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Now, I had mentioned when we were doing our prep before we started the show today that in the state of Virginia, they're under martial law at this, as we speak at this time, especially the area of Richmond, because there was supposed to be a ceremony that's this coming Monday, which is Martin Luther King's birthday, and on that day, the legislature was to come out with all these significant new bills to cut down the increase of firearms in the state of Virginia and the death that they bring. So what happens is now you have all these, I call them gun nuts, not lovers of the Second Amendment. Nobody's trying to mess with the Second Amendment. But these guys are angry because one of the laws that's being passed is that you can only buy one weapon a month. Now, they consider that to be a classic hardship that really hurts them, that they can only get one weapon a month. So I can only get one automatic weapon per month. Why would anybody be upset about that?
Yeah, really. I mean, it's. I mean, how many weapons do you need to and for what purpose is the question?
Well, you got other groups.
When you're talking about automatic weapons,
right?
That ain't for a hunter,
Well, it might be for a hunter, but the wrong kind of hunter.
Yeah, you got that right.
But see, they also have those groups like the base. That's another group. Their idea is that they want to create a white Aryan homeland here in America, exclusive of people of color and Jews.
Mm-hmm.
No one else.
Right.
And to tell you the truth, that also would go towards Roman Catholics. So basically, it would be a white male Protestant homeland. Nobody else need apply.
If Trump gets reelected, who knows how close that'll be coming to that. Yeah, that's what's scary.
Well, see,
That's
the
what's
thing is,
scary.
if Trump gets reelected,
Yeah.
he is going to make it very easy for people like that
That's right.
to, they will, in other words, they could do things, take over a county here or a small town there to begin their idea of an ethnocentric little homeland for themselves.
Bob, if I can jump here for a minute.
You go right ahead.
What was it? You mentioned that we're looking for the best candidate to beat Trump.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to tell you why I think Bernie is the best candidate to beat Trump.
Okay.
Okay, for a few reasons. One, in the rural areas of, for example, New York State, I'll use an example since I know it. But you can talk, about the Midwest and all of that as well. In the rural areas, every county north of Westchester, except for 3, were won by both Bernie and then by Trump. So Bernie will take enough of those rural voters away from Trump. That's both their strengths. Enough of those rural voters to win the election, to beat Trump on that level. Another thing is Bernie's gets strong support among labor as well. So that those are important factors that lead me to believe.
Now,
that
what
Bernie can
about
beat Trump?
talk some more about the South and the Southwest?
Right. Well, that's a little more conservative areas, but Bernie has always been good at reaching across the aisle. So I think he can. He's went down to West Virginia after Brian Trump won that, but he went down there and he got a lot of support over the last years. He's made a few stops over there, and he's gotten a lot of support growing for him as well there too. So we'll see. I mean, left my course, never predict anything in politics anyway. I mean, we all found that out with Bernie and both Trump. But look, Bernie, was the first social. You mentioned the Wilson, in the Wilson dream. In that time, a socialist from jail, Eugene V. Debs, who was in jail, got 1 million votes at that time. And and Bernie was the first one since then to get, he got 13 million votes in the primary in 2016. So, for an open socialist, people, democratic socialists, that was the first, one that many people voted for them. If you would have told me that many Democrats would have voted a few years before that or 10 years before that, I would have said you're crazy. Times have changed, and and this young generation is much more radical than the generation before. And we'll see where it goes. But of course, you also got to make sure they're registered. I just went to a college campus, and we registered some voters there as well too. And we got to make sure they turn out. So
what we have to also do, we have to be careful. We cannot let people get away with the name labels. Now, this business about calling Bernie socialist. Bernie is a democratic socialist. In other words, he is just like somebody living in Germany or France or Scotland or even England. Okay?
Or as Trump would say, a commie.
As far as the term commie is concerned, there's a big hell of a difference between socialist and commie. See, now that's one of the problems that I've always had. And I used to be a member of the Green Party for a couple of years until I went back to the Democratic Party. One reason is because the Green Party at one time were in a very good position to educate people, and they didn't do it.
In Europe, the Green Parties there.
They do an excellent job.
In Germany, they've gotten a higher vote recently, and they're growing parties there. But a lot of those places have ranked choice voting, which means that if somebody votes for the Green Party and the Democrat doesn't get elected, they can't all the Democrats can't blame that Green Party. It kind of undercuts that in some more democratic way. And hopefully, I know there's been a number of states that are moving towards that, and I hope hopefully we can begin to do it here. We have it in the city now, and and hopefully it'll spread to the state.
Now tell me, this business, and I had mentioned it to you before we started, I believe that both Warren and Bernie need to check out their staffs,
I hear
because I'm concerned between Russian interference and Trump's friends here in the States, that they may have plants in Bernie's campaign and in Warren's campaign, whose job it is to basically cause trouble between both of the campaigns, like they tried to do at the end of the last debate last week. Now, here goes the thing. That big blow up, you notice it's been cooled down considerably.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it has is because progressives from both sides said, hey, knock it off.
We need each
We
other.
need each other.
And
The only person that
come
benefits,
after the primary, exactly.
yeah, is
After the primary.
Donald Trump.
There you go. After
And
the
we
primary,
can't have
we're going
that.
to need each other. Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. What you know, for me, you know, and this is, I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for any group, but
Uh-huh.
for me, what I saw was that recently Warren has gone down in the polls. So she's,
Yeah.
so I call this a desperation move. You can call it a Hail Mary or whatever. She's 3 days before the first not 3 days. I mean, a couple of weeks before the first primary coming up,
Mhm.
and she pulls out this rabbit out of the hat that, you know, from a meeting that they had December of 2018. It was a private meeting, and nobody knows what went on there because those were the only two who were there. Nobody else. So anybody else spreading crap, you know, they're spreading crap. But this was a Hail Mary. It was a desperation move. She knows she's behind. She's got to, so she knocks the new front runner over here. I wish she had done against Biden personally instead of against Bernie. But anyway, that was it. The thing is, like I said, it didn't work though. The latest poll, that Reuters poll that just came out, you know, I saw it yesterday, just came out, shows that Bernie is the front runner, has surged ahead. So nationwide.
Now,
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So you know, it didn't work, and I didn't think it was going to work anyway. But nice try. But you know, but that's it. You know, I don't want to get into all of this. I think it's wasting too much of time. And like you said, we need progressives to unite rather than to divide, and we need to work to learn to work together. And after the primary, we will be working together. So, you know, this could cause, you know, this is not helping any of us. It's helping, like you said, Trump. So I agree. We need to get beyond that, and we need to, you know. And I'm not trying. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to give it too much weight. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would rather us go beyond that, and you know. So.
Now, there's another thing, and I think it's very important. A word. And everyone who does not want to see Trump reelected, they should learn this word and use it prominently. That word is why. When Trump's forces come out and start running this nonsense about, oh, well, you can't support, say it is Sanders, okay, that gets the nomination.
Right.
You can't support Sanders because he's, you know, socialist.
Right.
You say, why? That's all. You don't even really have to argue with them per se, but you ask them why. In other words, when Bernie talks about health care, Trump, as you know, he's trying to take away health care.
Yep.
Why?
He's done some damage already. Yeah.
See, these are the type of things
That's right.
that the party establishment needs to learn how to do, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
The grand geopolitical arguments sometimes are not what's necessary.
Right.
In a situation like this, everything is going to a base level. So you have to take it to its easiest, you know, the easiest factor.
Right.
And that's why.
I'm glad you mentioned the medical care because Bernie's Medicare for all. We are the richest country in the world. If we cannot afford to have Medicare, it should be a right. Medicare, everybody have the right to medical care. If we cannot afford to do that to all our citizens, and right now there's still tens of millions of people who are not covered, who have no medical insurance. All we got to do is cut out, the insurance companies and big pharmaceutical companies, and we can devote ourselves with a lot more money to spend on medical care. And I know for me, I was in the union for 33 years, and for me, when the union doesn't have to bargain for medical care, that involves 80% of our bargaining there.
Yeah.
Number one, and so we'll be able to get a lot more benefits for our members by devoting our resources to other things if the medical care is covered, if we have Medicare for all. So I think that's a good thing on that level.
Well, see, here goes the thing. Now, that's one thing about Warren that I was concerned about, because when she was attacked, when she was talking about Medicare for all, and you see eventually she backed off of that.
Yep.
And that was a mistake on her part.
Agreed.
Because the argument that she should have used, especially because they were talking about union people in Wisconsin, right. And the fact that they would not trust themselves to vote for somebody that would interfere with their Cadillac health package. But see, here goes the thing. You don't know what may happen next year or 2 years down the road or 5 years down the road. That corporation might declare bankruptcy.
That's right.
What happens to your
that's right.
Cadillac health package then?
You get that right.
See what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And she should, that's why.
And it's happening. And it's happening for a number of corporations. Yeah.
That's why the government has to be there as that bulwark to protect us.
That's right.
See, it's a shame what Trump and the Republicans are trying to do, because they're trying to come up with this 19th century idea that, you want the government to basically take care of you from cradle to grave and control your life. Well, guess what? For some things, yeah. Because we don't live in a frontier society anymore.
That's right.
We live in a modern, high-tech society, whether we like it or not.
Right.
Everybody's not going to go to Harvard and get an MBA. See? My personal opinion, I think that everyone should be able to, but as it stands right now, everybody doesn't have those kind of resources. So what happens to them? What happens to their children?
Right. And you talk about socialism. I mean, Medicare and Medicaid were socialist projects, but these are for the first time. It's for working people. It's for middle class people. Lost the thread of thought. But this is what Bernie is talking about when he talks about socialism. These are projects where the government can work better than in private industry.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the thing that I've noticed over the last number of decades is that all the regulations that were regulating some of these industries, which is you could call socialist too. What we have right now is socialism for the rich and not for the poor. I mean, they're not. How many corporations are not paying any taxes at all because they got their money overseas? So what we need is a little bit of socialism for the poor, for a change. To kind of balance things out. You need some regulations, and you need to increase those regulations.
Well, see, that's where, and I feel when I look at a Trump rally, I have a myriad of feelings. I feel anger, I feel sadness, I feel pity for those people who are, out there, cheering for Donald Trump. One reason is because most of those people, they have no idea what they're cheering for. Okay, it's like somebody has told them, shut off your brain, close your eyes, and just cheer for the great leader. Like we're in North Korea or something.
That's his base. That's his base. Hey.
Yeah. And that's sad.
It is.
Don't you understand that when he is tearing away, what do they call it, Obamacare, that's your health care.
That's right.
Because, see, you didn't go to Harvard and get an MBA either. You need the programs that he wants to tear up.
Yep.
And when you're out there cheering for him, you are cheering for your own destruction.
Exactly.
And that's not populism. That's stupidity.
He's a billionaire. You ain't.
There you go.
He can afford his medical coverage.
There you go.
We
As a matter of fact, hold on a second. Yo, hold on a second, folks.
And by the way, while we're waiting, New York State has the New York Health Act, which is one vote away from getting passed upstate, and hopefully we're beginning to get enough progressives elected there, and we certainly already have, and we're going to get more elected, so we can pass this soon. So that'll be our New York version of it. But again, what we're looking for is a whole national Medicare for all that Bernie's pushing, and Warren was pushing until she waffled a little bit on it.
Well, she let Trump's machine rattle her.
Bulldozer.
Yeah, and see that's not a good sign on her. Now, as far as, and this is going to be another hurdle before the primary that Bernie's going to have to overcome, and that is, isn't Biden the guy we want? Because look at all the trouble. Trump has taken a chance on being kicked out of the White House and possibly down the road going to prison for what he did to Joe Biden, trying to blackmail the president of a friendly foreign nation to dig up or pretend illegalities on the part of Joe Biden, a fellow American. All right? That's jail stuff that you're talking.
That is true. That is true. Yeah.
So what does that say as to who the real threat to Trump really is? Is it Bernie or is it Biden?
Well, I think the two of them might just won it. The way I'm looking at things right now, I mean, there were 6 people on that stage. 2 of them started with B there, Bernie and Biden, right? Buttigieg is the third. But if it starts to get narrowed down, and right now Bernie and Biden are the front runners, you might see a very close race down to the finish over there. And hopefully whoever comes out of that will come out of it stronger. Hey, I left my crystal ball home, but right now it's looking damn good for Bernie. I mean, he's really got a lot of momentum arising, and like I said, can't be the front runner if you ain't winning in the early states. And Biden has, close in Iowa, and maybe he'll win, South Carolina. Right now he's ahead. But those are the only 2 early states that I see him in. Bernie's got a whole bunch of early states that he could be winning here. So we'll see how this thing shapes itself up. But it's right now, to me, looks like Bernie might be coming through. Hey, it's going to be a close one. I mean, Biden does have a lot of support. It's no.
If I were Joe Biden,
it's not going to be cakewalk for either. And by the way, that dust up between Warren and Bernie, who benefits from that? Biden benefits from that. So people are going to look at that,
Now,
see
I would tell you,
whose figure is on the scale on those things. So, hey.
I will tell you that I would be interested in a ticket. I would be interested in a B&B ticket. Biden and Bernie.
Yeah, I hear you.
How would you guys feel about that?
The way I'm looking right now, first of all, it's way early, and the candidate who wins is going to be the one who picks their vice president.
Yep.
So whatever we say here is just going air in the wind. But
the
way I would look at it is that I would like Bernie to have Warren as his vice president, because she has a slice of the vote. it's not his main base or anything, but actually that's good that it's not his main base. But you add that two together, and the progressives are going to have a real thing and a real momentum going for them as well.
That would be a good ticket.
So you don't think so, huh? Yeah, listen, 2018 was a Me Too moment. There's a lot of women, who jumped forward then, and we'll see. We'll see. You might. There's a lot of women voters in this country now. A lot more than men. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays itself out.
Well, what women are going to have to learn, just like other groups, that you have to learn how to think strategically. It's not all the time about what you want.
Right.
If you have two guys, and you know that they're fully on board,
right,
with the what is that Equal Rights Amendment?
I'll tell you what. I'm a little bit afraid that Biden could be Hillary too, and that he could be head towards disaster again. That he could win the 3 million votes, popular vote, and lose it in the electoral college again. Because Bernie, I know that wouldn't happen too. Because Bernie, like I said, in the rural areas throughout this country, Bernie has real strength. Biden is very comfortable with the Democrats in the cities here. In the main cities like New York City, but upstate and in the rural areas throughout places in the country, that's where Bernie's strength is, and that's where Biden's not strength is. So I would be very concerned about a disaster, Hillary 2 disaster.
But what happens?
Just like 2016
with your with your folks who are what's the name for them now? Your middle of the road Democrats.
Right.
All right, your moderate Democrats,
and that's who Biden represents. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can't.
Too.
Well, you cannot shoo those folks away.
No, absolutely. Whoever wins, whether it's Bernie or Biden or hey, it's still not over yet. Somebody else could shoot. One of the others could shoot up there. Warren or Pete or whatever could shoot up. You never know. But not one vote's been cast yet. So.
Well, I'll tell you quite frankly.
What I'm saying, but what happens with the moderates and the progressives come June or July had better get together and come out of the Democratic Convention united and strong and to beat Trump with a strong wave.
Yeah, but to
support.
do that
better happen.
But to do that, certain things have to be considered.
Right. Now,
I will tell you right now, that's the main thing that a lot of people are afraid of with Bernie.
That he's too far left, and he's not going to get the moderates to come. Well, you said it in 2016 that how come the left didn't get behind the more moderate Hillary candidate. So it's the same deal ever. Whoever wins had better, begin to unify the party. And people in both sides, both progressives and moderates, had better wake up and realize we got a real danger of fascism here in Trump getting reelected again. And you better get out there and get all your support and try to get, and do all you can to back the Democrat and beat Trump. That's all I can say.
Well, I'm going to do my part.
I know.
But I tell you quite frankly, I am worried about hang on a second. Oh, I'm going to have to charge you up here a little bit. I am very concerned about and like I say, all his ideas, I can't think of hardly anything that I disagree with Bernie on. But I do not know if at this stage in American history, because, I don't know, maybe I should be more careful when I speak, but at this stage in American history, something has happened to America over the last 15, 20 years. I honestly believe after the 60s and early 70s, certain powers that be were so afraid of progressive thinking people taking over the wheel of government in this country, that they made it their business to work on dumbing down the American public. And I believe, and I'm sorry, if you want to get mad at me, get mad. I believe that to a certain extent, in certain areas of this country, they succeeded. So what happens where you have large, vast areas where people believe that Bernie Sanders is he's a dirty communist. He wants to take away everything and give it to blacks and Puerto Ricans and people from south of the border. Now, you have ignorant people in this country, a lot of them, that actually believe this garbage. They believe that if you elect a Jewish person for president, that they will sell the country to Israel. This is the kind of bullshit that we are contending with. And I don't know. I know, as a black man, I understand people getting upset when people come to them with the argument, it's not the right time. And I don't blame them for being upset. But looking at this country as a whole, and I know America, that's one thing the military taught me. I know this country. I have slept with this country. I have fought next to this country. I have held this country in my arms as it was choking out its last blood. And I tell you, I have never been so afraid in my life, okay, since I became old enough to be aware of what politics is. I've never been afraid like I am now. And see, that's why those of us who know America, who know America from East Coast to West Coast and know the middle, see, that's one of the problems that the progressive movement has, or the left, or however you want to put it. We know California, we know the West Coast, we know the East Coast, we know the upper Midwest, right? But we don't know the heartland, most of us, because this is not 1940 or 1950 or 1960 or 1970 even. You don't have a draft anymore. Excuse me, you have a draft, it's just not being used. And it hasn't been used since, 73 or 74, excuse me. You don't have that. And most people who are lucky enough to go to college, they go locally because it's better on their pocketbook. See? So you don't have that cross-cultural connection. You don't understand what it's like to be a Jewish person living in Kansas, for example, or a black person, right, living in southwestern Missouri, for example. The left, they have lost that feeling. It's not that Democrats, people talk, well, Democrats have forgotten how to talk to the working class. No, what it is the working class, I won't say the working class got dumber, but I will say the working class, the American working class, especially if you want to break it down ethnically, they have really been allowed to fall behind. So a lot of things they're not aware of. See, that's why Obama getting elected was such a big deal. Did he do a whole hell of a lot? He made us feel a little bit better, and there are some things that he did that were very helpful. Right. But you see what happened.
He also got into bed with Wall Street, and he didn't. He put a lot of them in his cabinet, and he didn't get rid of them.
That's true. That is true. That is true.
He had a movement going, and he just let it die.
Yeah.
So, there were certain compromises he made that were not good. But but he did some good things.
Yeah.
The Affordable Care Act and all that.
He was he was competent.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I agree with you up to a point
Uh-huh.
with what you're saying. But I think I've noticed some changes. Like in 2016, both parties, look at the Democrats and the Republicans, both parties, people were fed up with the establishment. There was a split in both parties. You had Bernie versus Hillary in the Democrats. You had Trump versus all the others in the Republicans. And in the Republican Party, that revolution succeeded. Trump won. In the Democrats, it didn't at that time. But however, it has changed. I mean, you got 55,000 people in Democratic Socialists of America now throughout the country, not just in New York, all over the country. Now, you've got here in New York, we have a progressive left group, New York Progressive Action Network as well.
Don't count
a bunch
New
of
York.
Bernie delegates. But what was it? But what I'm saying is that so the young people today, there is a real strong radical current among them, and I think if that develops strong enough in this election, I don't know. I left my crystal ball home. Whether it will succeed or not, nobody knows. But there is a real strong radical push. Would you have seen 40% of the Democratic Party be either for Bernie or Warren, say 5 years ago, 10 years ago? No, you wouldn't have seen that. You would have seen. In the 1990s, it was Bill Clinton steering to the center, saying screw you unions, we don't need you anymore. Even though that's been the traditional base.
Yeah, but you have to remember, right now.
So no, what I'm saying, this is a different time from that. Now, there is a real growth of radical among young people, and we'll see. We'll see how far it goes. We'll see if they're registered. We'll see if they vote in sufficient numbers. I don't know. I left like I said. But I do think there is a potential here, and I think that's why Bernie support. That's why he is growing. That's why there is so much momentum going
Okay, excuse me now. As we're speaking right now, as we're speaking, the state of Virginia is in lockdown.
I hear you.
In the Richmond and the Henrico County area. Yeah. Okay. Who do you think they're afraid of? Those are young people. Those are young white males, all right, that are talking about a white ethno.
The younger, not all radical left. The younger radical right. There's some radical right folks there as well too.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Sure. No, I hear you. And it's a danger, and it's scary, and that's what Trump has built his base upon. So it is very scary.
You have a bunch of people marching around, yelling, "The Jews will not replace us."
There's been a growth of anti-Semitism. Well, Tree of Life, that thing upstate New York just happened.
Those idiots over in Jersey City.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Who need to be hung up by their feet and beaten every day.
Yeah, and anti-black sentiment as well. I mean, just look at what the Republicans have been able to do down in North Carolina and Georgia, cutting off hundreds of thousands of black people from the rolls down there. So there's some scary shit going on. And that's why we really, but I'm saying, but what that does, though, is people who were in the center are being moved towards the left, some of them as well, too. So it's not quite the same setup as it was, say, even 4 years ago. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not going to predict, boom, we got it, we're going to win, it's all over. No, but there is a real chance for us to win. And right now, it's looking pretty damn good for Bernie. So, hey.
Oh, I don't deny that.
I left my crystal ball home, but he might do it, and he also might get enough momentum to beat Trump as well, too. So that remains to be seen.
What people are afraid of, they don't want this to turn out to be another McGovern.
Yeah,
you old enough to remember McGovern.
Oh yeah. And Dukakis, same deal.
I knew Dukakis was I knew he was a dead dodo.
Right, but I'm saying
when he came out there.
Yeah, both of them. It was like hey, they're moving progressive, but the difference is there was not that mass movement behind them that Bernie has. So that may be the difference with them. They were progressive, and they were a little too progressive for their time. So they got trounced. I understand what you're afraid of, and you know what? I'm afraid of it too. But I don't quite see it, quite that static. I think there are some changes here. Like I said, you look at 2016, look what happened in both parties. So there is a lot of movement going on there, and we have to see how it plays itself out. This is not going to be a repeat of anything like that. And that's what I'm afraid of with Biden, is that he's going same old, how it was, under Obama, and he just goes back to that. and nothing new, nothing creative, nothing. You can't go back to the way things were. You have to go forward, and that's what I like about Bernie.
When you say that, I tell you, and I'm taking the side of people that primarily what they want a return to sanity. Okay?
That is true.
And that's one thing. That's one of the things that Joe Biden represents.
Right.
And I tell you, quite frankly, I'm kind of pulled in that direction because I believe that if you're talking about a revolution, in America, the way we revolt is we throw the bastards out. Right. Okay? And I believe that what you have to have an environment where people can sit down, where they can plan. And I tell you, I would take a very dim view of folks that did not vote Democratic because they were afraid of Bernie. Okay? I will also have a dim view of people that didn't vote Democratic because of the fact they didn't like Joe Biden.
I agree.
Because they would feel that, well, there's not going to be enough change. Right. See, this is the thing that, and this is what I'm going to be doing right after the convention. People need to understand this election coming up, this may well be our last free election in this country.
That is true.
And I am highly upset because it's just like somebody told me, all right, Rob, everybody is not as aware as you. Everybody was not in intelligence when they were in the Navy. A lot of people have never even been to D.C. You got millions of people walking around. They don't even know who the hell their congressperson is.
True.
See? And you have to understand, everybody is not as aware as you are. And you are going to still have people that are going to stay home. Now, of course, those people, they don't have a right to bitch.
Nope.
Okay?
Nope.
When they see those buses and those vans coming down the street, and they see their Hispanic friends and neighbors being packed up because of the fact that, well, gee, I didn't know that Josephine was not a citizen.
I was at Baruch College yesterday. And this kid, I said, to get sign my petition to get Bernie on the ballot, and he said, well, I don't care about politics. I'm not involved. I said, yeah, but you hate Trump, don't you? Well, don't blame me if he gets reelected again, because you were afraid to take a registration form and register and vote.
Okay.
Vote against,
what did he say when you told him that?
He walked away. But yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there are plenty of people out there, and hey, in 2016, 3 million New Yorkers didn't get to vote because they were either independent or this or that, whatever. So we got to rebuild our democracy here. It's in shreds in a lot of ways, and I understand your fear, and I have the same fear, but we got to fight. The only way that I can see beating fascism is not to sit on and say, "Ooh, I'm afraid." No, you got to get out there and fight. And
I'm going to tell you something. What attracted me to Joe Biden, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not making any choices.
Right.
All right. But Joe Biden, he made me angry, and he also made me feel kind of proud at the same time. I'm angry because his damn campaign, as far as I'm concerned, he should not have waited as long as he did. That's the first thing. I didn't like that at all.
True, he came in late. You're right. He did come in late.
That's the first thing.
But I will give him credit. As soon as he came in, he became the front runner, and he's still been the front runner up until.
Well, yeah, he should have been.
Up until the last couple of weeks, he was the front runner.
Now, the thing that he made me proud was that when he came out and he put that commercial out there, and he went directly to Charlottesville and to the anti-Semitic
Yeah.
character, nature
He did come out
of that
strong
whole
on
thing.
Charlottesville. I'll give I'll give
Exactly.
him that. I will give him that. Yeah.
And see, what makes me angry.
And that was right. And that was right.
Yeah,
I
and see,
think
that's
he
what
was.
makes me angry about a lot of Americans.
I'm trying curious as if he had, during Charlottesville itself he had come out strongly. That I don't know, but I know he, when he started campaigning, he did.
I think he might have still been in mourning somewhat.
Yeah,
But, it was on the top of his mind because that's the first thing he opened his mouth about.
right,
Okay, when his campaign started.
right.
And see, as I was getting ready to say, that's what upsets me about Americans, because Americans nowadays they have a difficult time. They hear about how many was it? 11 Jews being slaughtered in a synagogue, and they have a hard time linking those 11 Jews being slaughtered to their personal rights.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
what does that say about the whole government,
Right.
about America and who we're supposed to be?
Hey, from Connecticut on down, how many people had to be mass slaughtered with automatic weapons before something was done about that? You know what I mean? To ban some of them. They're starting to in Virginia, like you said. But how many times has that happened? I can't count how many times it's happened all over the country, and yet nothing was done about it. When that thing down in what was it, in Texas?
Yeah, 54 people.
Yeah. I mean,
But
and you saw all these kids rising up for that, and yet still nothing was done. So it takes a lot to make change.
Yeah, but see,
sometimes.
Lewis, that's another thing. You have to understand. And you were in the service, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
When were you?
In the Army, in 71, 72.
Okay, you're an old dog. Well, you know the deal. In certain parts of the country, the idea of owning a weapon, I hate saying
That's
gun.
mother's milk. That's mother's milk.
Yeah. I hate
What
saying
you grew up
gun,
with, yeah.
right? Only the Navy has guns. We have big guns from, cruisers and battleships and what have you. So I say weapon.
But a rifle or a handgun, right? Yeah.
There you go. But see, somebody from New York, that's like alien to them. If you're from Massachusetts or from New York, your manhood is not tied up in a weapon. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
If anything, your manhood's tied up in your
fist. Some of the western
fist.
states and some of the rural states, hey.
Yeah.
That's mother's milk growing up with.
So see, those are some of the things that we have to face.
And going hunting is, part of your culture. Yeah.
See, but see, as I'm saying though, see, those are the things that we have to face. And me, I look at the candidate, and I say, well, okay, he plays well to me. I like him.
Right.
But I'm a kid from Harlem, out of the projects.
Right.
What about this guy from Appalachia, from West Virginia, or from Kentucky? Right? Is he going to support that kind of a candidate? Is that kind of candidate going to cause him to go and grab 4 other people to vote against our side?
Well, this is when I want to give a shout out to Bernie on this.
Go ahead.
Because Bernie, in the state of Vermont, which a lot of hunting and a lot of, and everybody's, for their Second Amendment, for their right, to own weapons, they still, he elected, and he got a bad rating from the NRA, and he wanted regulations on the guns, and that was not that popular in the state. But he, every single time, because on other issues, they would agree with him. So he got enough support out of that, out of them for that. So I give him credit on that. He took a principled stand, and and he could have cost him politically, but
Okay, well, let me ask you this, Lewis.
So,
as we get ready to wrap it up here, I'm going to give you another chance, final chance to say a few words about your candidate, because that's why you're here. So give us some nice things to say about Bernie.
All right. Well, Bernie, like I said, is really doing very well. He just shot ahead to the front runner. He's leading in Iowa. And that's the first state come February 3rd, I believe it is, when they're having their first, it will be the first primary in a couple of weeks, right? So stay tuned, folks, because they're going to make some noise. I mean, if Bernie wins Iowa, he wins New Hampshire. And last time he overwhelmingly won New Hampshire. Now, this time there's more candidates, and Warren is in Massachusetts, next state, nearby state. So, she'll cut into she'll get some votes that he would have got. But at the same time, I was up there, and there's so much overwhelming sentiment for Bernie. If he wins those first 2 states, watch out, because that you get so much momentum going from there, and that could carry over to Nevada. I know he's winning California. That's the biggest states with the most delegates, and we'll see. We'll see if it moves. You know, Biden still might wind up winning South Carolina, but we'll see if he gets enough momentum from that, he might wind up taking. If he wins all of those early states, well, the primary could be over very quickly. So, you know, again, I'm just speculating, and nobody's got their crystal ball. So the other candidates are still very close in Iowa and in other states as well. So, you know, stay tuned, folks. It's going to be interesting. But we're beginning the primary season here, and hopefully, you know, by June and July, we will know who the Democratic candidate is, and we need to. You know, hopefully they can appeal to the other side of the spectrum. If they're progressive, they can appeal to the moderates, and if they're moderate, they can appeal to the progressives and unite and defeat Trump.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you heard it here first. My man Lou Group has been speaking some very nice things about Bernie, and I will tell you, I appreciate hearing them. Me, myself, I'm still in the same position. That is, I will support any Democrat that gets picked at the convention to go against Donald Trump. Because, folks, I've been saying this for a while now, and I hope that some of you are really starting to pick up on this. This is not just a typical election that we're facing this November. This is not the typical thing about, oh, well, this politician says this, that politician said that, and they're all full of hot air. All right? That's not the deal here. What we have is a guy with the help of some very rich and powerful people, and also with the help of an adversary nation, of course, I mean Putin and Russia, who have their own reasons for seeing a weakened United States. You know what it's like? I remember in the 60s and 70s, there was a lot of talk about the Russians and the communist Chinese infiltrating black groups, Hispanic groups,
The Panthers
right?
and everything. Yeah.
You know, which was not true,
Yeah.
especially in the case of the Black Panthers.
Right.
But you had those overtones, see? Well, guess what? Now the script has been flipped. And now you have Russia, primarily, doing the same type of deal with a lot of these Aryan nationalist groups and these groups that want to break America apart by race and say we want our own space of land here, okay? That's what you have going on. See, that's what makes this election so different. You have people who are actually trying to destroy this country with our politics. That's why I say this may well be the last election that you're able to participate in. Now
which makes it so important that we get Trump out of
exactly.
It. Absolutely.
Now
The
you've
danger
seen
of fascism, the danger of that
Right.
Democracy will be in shreds. You know.
well, you have seen Trump for the last 3 years. All right? Do you believe that that is someone that can be trusted with the future of this country? And that's not to say that America was perfect. No way in hell would I say that. But that path towards making progress, okay, we were on that path. Now we have a person that not only wants to take us off that path, but he basically wants to capture the whole country for himself and for his friends. And the Russians would love that. They most certainly would. Because
he wants to take us backwards. He wants to take us back as far back. It's scary even thinking how far back he would like to take us. But,
because see, that is, that's the situation that we have here. So we need you to vote, and we need you to pay attention to what's going on. All right, because these are extremely dangerous times that we're living in. Like I said, right now, the Richmond area in Virginia is under martial law because of these white Aryan groups. Okay, talking about they don't want I hate to use the term, but gun control. They don't want to see that, and they're using that as their get over, as their guys. Okay, to say, hey, come on down, be a part of this. Except, don't be a person of color. Don't be a Jew. Now, that tells you right there what they're all about. And all of these folks, by the way, who are trying to do these sick things, they are Trump supporters to a person. Trump supporters. So that should tell you right there. Donald Trump is an enemy of this country. He's not a friend. So you need to keep that in mind. So, folks, I thank you for allowing us in your homes. And please stay tuned, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same place, same channel. And this is the Concern Forum with your host, Bob Gumbs. And I thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you.
That was good.
Yeah, it was.
Hey,
We're done.
no problem. So I just have a brief question for you.
Sure.
We trying to make our social media presence more known through our website and our Facebook page. Would it be possible for you to, take a photograph of the two of you together?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I have you guys just sit back down?
Oh yeah. Okay. Sure. Don't bring the lens on me.
I hope I don't break your camera there.
Yeah, I'm gonna take one of the actual screen, and then one of you guys in the set. Off. All right, Bobby, can I have you just come back to the desk for a moment?
Yes, sir. You got it. Also, you're going to take it off of that.
I'm gonna take one from here.
No,
and then this. One more.
Bobby, by the way, thank you for doing all this.
I'm just gonna take one of you guys. One more. Try to get this monitor in. You guys.
Are we supposed to look at you?
No, you cool. Kind of like. All right, cool. Thank you. You mind if I just get your name? Just so I can, write up, and I'll definitely tag you in it.
Sure, you want it over there?
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
Sure, no.
Oh, you know what? You got to thank those guys, too.
Yeah, really.
These folks here, Manhattan Neighborhood Network. Because just think about it. See, this is what I'm talking about. I don't want to lose this.
No.
I don't want to lose the way that we do things in this country.
Absolutely, and that's
And
what's
in this
scary.
city.
And that's what is exactly what's scary.
Yeah.
You're right. No, I understand the fear. Believe me, I understand the fear. I have
Yeah.
the same fear every day. Things have been going, backwards here, and we got to stop it.
Yeah, I can't, I mean, look at it. I have started a second career here, and it hasn't really cost me a dime. And I'm getting more and more well
You're doing a
known.
wonderful thing, Bob, and I appreciate it. I mean, I wouldn't have a voice if not for you, so
Well, that's why I started this damn thing. And I got the idea of one lousy, crappy night when I thought I was going to die. Just think about that. We was right off the coast of Libya. And Gaddafi had the wind up because we shot his planes down that afternoon.
Wow.
And that night he sent a whole squadron up after our butts.
Wow.
And at the last minute, they veered off like they were heading for Israel. But I'm going to tell you
What
something.
type of boat were you on?
I was on the aircraft carrier Nimitz.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir.
The biggie.
Yep.